Today I wanted to talk to you about something that I've been thinking a lot about over the past few weeks as I've been entering the very last stages of pregnancy. My energy has been really low. I haven't been able to get what feels like anything done, and I'm going to be sharing a variety of different things that you'll be seeing in this video, but do not be fooled. This all required my most maximum effort. Life has really slowed down over the past few weeks of pregnancy, and I've only managed to put my hands to very certain and specific things. This means that the house has been more neglected and the food hasn't always been perfect or from scratch or super nutritious. But I wanted to encourage you with this, surprisingly, especially you young homemakers and mothers that are in the very thick of having tiny little children, tiny people pulling at your feet and hips all day long. It is okay to slow down, to say no to certain activities, and to stop and really slow down. Sometimes it's really easy to look at other families, other mums, other people with older children and think, wow, how do they get to so much? How do they get it all done? And I just wanted to say that they have help. They have older children. And if you're on the thick of motherhood and parenting, like me, you've got 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, newborns. You are not alone. You don't have to get to it all, and you can just relax and slow down. And in this video, I am going to be technically getting stuff done, like baking muffins and doing the laundry and all of those things. But this took me a lot to get to. It took me days to get to, especially in this last stage of pregnancy. Let me tell you, I have been spending a lot of time on my bed. As much as possible, as much as my kids allow, I've been resting because I've just felt exhausted. And I just wanted to share that with you because it can feel so much like we have to compare our own journey to everyone else around us, to those we watch on YouTube, to those curated videos, to those mums that do have a lot of help, that have husbands at home to help, that have older children to help with household chores and things. But if you are in the thick of it, trust me, you are not alone. Stop doing what you're doing and rest. You don't have to be the perfect mum that gets to everything and makes everything from scratch. And trust me, that is my desire. Like, I really do want to be investing in my family's health, and I really do try and do that, and I do try and make everything as much as possible from scratch. But there are just some days when that is not possible. And one way that we get through that kind of season in our life is by doing some freezer meal preps, and meal preps to put bulk meals in the freezer. So if you haven't watched that video, it was my last one on preparing for baby and having freezer meals ready to go, then do go ahead and watch that, because there are some practical tips to help you along the way there. But I do want to be the mum that invests in gut health and all the things, and we have 1,001 projects. Even as I'm filming these videos, I was saying to my husband last night, I just feel so deflated sometimes that my kitchen isn't what I want it to be, and we're still yet to rip it all out, and I spend a lot of time in my kitchen, and we're slowly going around and renovating the rest of our house, but I spend so much time in my kitchen and I feel so uninspired by it, and I just can't wait to get to it. But it's just not the season that we're in right now. It's not the season to rip out the kitchen and to take down all the cupboards and remove the tiles and the backsplash, because we really would be starting from scratch. We have added floors to this space. We haven't done anything else, and there are walls that need to be replastered. there's so much to do, and now on the horizon is a newborn, and so now is not the time to be going through the kitchen and ripping it out. We're trying to complete jobs around the house that we do need to get done, like finishing the windowsill in the lounge. We have completed that this week, and I'll be sharing more on that next week. We have still some jobs to do in the bathroom. We have guest bedrooms to sort out. I've got baby items to organise, and so there's a lot to actually prioritise, and that's a big thing that I'm learning how to prioritise is absolutely huge, and learning to say no to things. One thing I love doing is taking a list for each day and reducing it really right down to top 3 priorities. And if you think about those top 3 priorities, then that feels a lot more manageable to be able to get done. And honestly, sometimes that is literally feed the children, keep the children alive, happy, attitudes are all in place, we are having a nice, peaceful, happy day, and that's okay if it looks that way. But that is really something that I've been trying to implement over the past few weeks, just choosing those things that I actually want to be prioritizing in my days, and that is feeding the kids and feeding the family and feeding us all, obviously. Feeding us all really well, 3 meals a day, focusing on nutrition and energy and all of those good things. And then if I don't get to anything else, but I've done that and I have relatively kept on top of the space a little bit, and the children are happy and we've got a happy, peaceful home, then check, I am done for the day and I am clocking out. And even all of these tips, like you must close down your whole kitchen at night, etc. Normally, yes, I'd love those things. But when you are in the thick of it, sometimes you have to say no to those things and wake up to a dirty kitchen, and it doesn't matter. Like, you can choose your attitude towards those things. And I have chosen over the past few weeks just to let that go and wake up and just get on with it. If it's slightly dirty because I needed to rest more last night and my husband was out and we were both busy and couldn't get to it, it does not matter. You do not have to beat yourself up about it, and the kitchen can always be cleaned tomorrow. The kitchen will always need to be cleaned. That's a job you will always have to get to. The laundry always can wait another day, trust me. And I've definitely done that, and so I've got a lot of laundry to get through here. But really just letting go and choosing those priority things, like keeping your kids happy, not focusing on having a perfect home, not focusing on doing too many travels or experiences for your kids or too many trips outside of the home, but keeping it calm, keeping everybody happy, yourself happy, and yourself nourished and cherished. And that's got to be your priority in this season if you are in the thick of it. I think sometimes we have seasons in life that are more busy than others, and when you are heavily pregnant or you've got a newborn or your babies aren't sleeping well or you've got twins, or I saw a mum the other day and she had 1-year-old twins and she was like 34 weeks, something pregnant. When you're in those seasons, that is your time to stop and to slow right down and to not feel judged, not feel got at by other mums because you're not doing what they're doing, not watching too many videos where you're feeling pretty rubbish about yourself. It's the season to choose that you will look back on in years to come and think, wow, we made it through by the grace of God. And that's something that I look back on even as we moved into this house. We moved into this huge renovation project and on a very tight budget, really no budget at all. And we had our little girl. She was 6 months when we moved here and I was 3 months pregnant or something like that. And then going through the pregnancy with Caleb and trying to renovate, and there have been many moments that I have just had to let go what I have pictured this season to look like, what I've pictured my house to look like at this time, and things like that. And I hope this is an encouragement to you and not something you're just like, all right, shut up, Mia, I've heard it all before. But I just hope that you hear me. On a slightly different note, this was my first ever sourdough loaf that actually turned out well. I have worked so hard to find a sourdough sandwich loaf recipe that actually works. And this was really taken, and I was shocked that it worked so well. This was taken from Sarah Therese and Co. Her new branding there, but it's on her website. And she normally uses a bread machine to mix the dough and have it rise and that kind of thing. My bread machine is rubbish. I can't figure it out to save the life of me. So I did the option was to put it in the stand mixer. Now it did turn out a little bit wet to start with, and it was very tricky to handle, as you could see there. But it actually did the rising thing that bread is supposed to do, and it didn't turn out really dense. It was really, really yummy. I could have baked it for maybe like 10 minutes more and it would have been perfect. But I have since recreated this recipe yesterday. I baked 2 loaves yesterday and they are perfect sourdough sandwich loaves. Well, they're not perfect. I've definitely still got some improving to do, but they have been the only recipe. It's been the only recipe that's actually worked and actually come out to the point where I don't have to blend it and turn it into sourdough breadcrumbs. Like, we can actually eat it as toast and sandwiches and things like that, and it's pure sourdough. And so I was feeling very, very chuffed about that. And so I'll leave the link, or if you just go onto Sarah Therese's website and look for this sourdough sandwich loaf, and try and make that work for you. One thing I did do differently is I kept it in a very warm space to rise for the duration of the whole rising process, and that was basically my oven on a super low temperature. I think it's got a little like fan setting that I've put it on. I haven't quite figured it out. It's a bit of an old oven that just keeps the fan going inside the oven, keeps it a little bit warm, and it really made it rise because we live in quite a cold house. So I think that's probably made quite a big difference. And I also think the amount of time I left it in the stand mixer to really get that elastic dough that you want when you're creating sourdough or more of a sandwich loaf specifically. One of the jobs that I really needed to get done was getting through this freezer. Our fridge freezer has been slightly neglected. It's quite new, well, in that it's new to us, but we did buy it secondhand, and so it's not perfectly clean, and there are a lot of places that I can't get perfectly clean. But honestly, I'm just using that as an excuse because I really just haven't cleaned it in what feels like forever. And it is one of those jobs that I was feeling motivated to do today, and I haven't for a really long time. So I thought I'd take that opportunity, grab my Henry Hoover, and just hoover out and wipe down the freezer. I didn't get to the fridge. It's okay, it's a half job, but I was glad to just get to the freezer as I've been stocking it for food for the baby. And hopefully one day I will get to the fridge. So here I have a stock on the go that I've had on the go for the last few days on the back burner of the oven. Normally I would always do stock in the pressure cooker, pop all the ingredients in, shove a ton of like garlic and salt and things like that, and let it pressure cook for about an hour and a half, and then leave it in the pressure cooker for a while before straining it. But I actually decided to do it the old-fashioned way and did it on the back of the stove. And I think I've only done this once before, many years ago, but I absolutely loved it. The flavors were so different. Now I did use a whole ton of pork fat that was left over from a roast that my husband did, and put that in there, so that might have made a difference to the flavor. But it was so much more rich, it was so much more intense, and it had reduced down a lot, and so you could use less in a recipe and then add more hot water. But today I just decided to bang it all in this soup, and it was just delicious. And honestly, this soup was kind of weird. Like, I put basically a whole bag of those organic frozen Costco vegetables, which felt like a strange choice, but I was dealing with what we had. We had people over for lunch, and so I was just kind of making it up as I went along and used as many vegetables as I could source. But with the stock that had been roasting on the back burner, it was just delicious. And I added chopped tomatoes, again feeling very strange at this point, with a can of chickpeas, but with enough herbs and spices, and the stock that also had chicken bones and pork and a whole ton of garlic, and some spices, etc. It was absolutely incredible. And you want to make sure you blend it up to perfection. Now, I do have a trick with any soup that I make. At the very end of the process, I always add a dash of cream if I have it on hand, and I always add about a tablespoon of sugar. The best sugar to add is dark brown sugar. At the very end, once you've blended it, cream and sugar. Now, that's just a nice combination, isn't it, really? So it's going to make anything better probably, but that is my trick. If you have a soup that you're like, this is going to turn out really weird, it's got a ton of vegetables that don't match, then adding a dash of cream and a tablespoon of sugar once you've blended it all up, it has really, seriously, always worked out. And I've done some weird soups in my time. But soups are a great way to get in all those nourishing vegetables, especially with that homemade stock. So I'd recommend trying the stock on the back burner if you're at home most of the time. I think I did turn it off during the night, because like right before bed, and then switched it back on early morning, keeping the lid on and sealed. Some of you might be opposed to that, but honestly it was fine. Like, it was still quite warm when I turned it on in the morning, so it hadn't cooled right down. Yeah, so stock on the back burner, and then cream and sugar in your soup with that lovely loaf of sourdough bread. We enjoyed this so much. Of course, we enjoyed, as a classic British family, we enjoyed the hot soup, some nice warm bread, and a pot of tea. A pot of tea is something I've been implementing into our daily routine because we do drink a lot of tea, and my kids love tea. Proper English breakfast tea. We're not talking any of the fancy leafy stuff here. We are just talking standard English breakfast. But we've been enjoying pots of tea together almost 3 times a day, and it's been delightful.